Forget the mirror theory. There's something much weirder going on with Madame Gazelle, and it's been hiding in plain sight the whole time. 1. Her reaction to garlic isn't normal. When wild garlic appears in Wildflower Wood, Madame Gazelle is the only character who reacts to it at all. She says, "I don't like it much myself," and moves on without explanation. That line wouldn't mean anything if it weren't garlic. In vampire lore, garlic is a defense. It weakens, repels, or burns them. No one else in the group finds it worth mentioning, and no one else avoids it. Her reaction is quiet, but that's exactly why it stands out. It's not framed as a joke or a personal taste, it's just avoidance. And for a vampire, that makes perfect sense. 2. She hasn't aged since the parents were kids. In one episode, a flashback shows that Madame Gazelle was the teacher when Peppa's parents were still in the playgroup. What makes this strange is that she looks completely unchanged. Her hairstyle, her voice, her clothes, and even her posture are exactly the same. Meanwhile, the parents have clearly aged. Grandpa Pig and Grandpa Dog have white hair, wrinkles, and slower movements. Madame Gazelle, on the other hand, shows no signs of aging at all. It's not just unlikely, it's unnatural. If years have passed for everyone else, why hasn't anything changed for her? Something is keeping her frozen in time. 3. Her Christmas tree grew, but she didn't. In the episode where Peppa visits Madame Gazelle's home, we learn something strange. She says she planted a tiny Christmas tree years ago and never wanted to throw it out. That same tree is now so big it's pushing her house sideways. Trees don't grow like that overnight. A tree that size takes decades. But Madame Gazelle looks exactly the same as she always has. She even appears in a flashback watching the tree grow, already fully grown herself. Nothing about her has changed. Not her face, her clothes, or her voice. Time passed around her, but never touched her. 4. She feels at home, around bats. In the same episode, Mr. Bull climbs Madame Gazelle's massive tree and finds a group of bats living near the top. Most people would panic or at least act surprised. Madame Gazelle just smiles and says, "They remind me of my old country." No one asks what that means, but it's not a normal thing to say. Bats aren't something most people feel nostalgic about, unless that old country is somewhere like Transylvania. The connection isn't random. It sounds more like a memory. She isn't afraid of bats because she's not a stranger to them. She's one of them. 5. Cold doesn't bother her because she isn't alive. In the episode Sun, Sea, and Snow, the beach is covered in snow, but Madame Gazelle decides to go for a swim anyway. Mummy Pig jumps in and yells from the freezing water. Madame Gazelle walks right in, completely calm, and says, "The water feels wonderful." No one questions it, but they should. A normal body would be shaking. She doesn't flinch. She isn't bothered by the cold at all. That's not just odd, it's unnatural. Vampires are known to be cold-blooded. They don't feel temperature like the living do. For her, that icy water might as well be a bath. 6. She keeps a night schedule no one talks about. When Peppa is asked to take care of Madame Gazelle's guinea pigs, she's given a care chart with feeding times and grooming routines. One of the instructions says the pets need brushing in the middle of the night. Not early morning. Not late evening. Around 2 a.m. That's not just inconvenient, it's bizarre. No one brushes animals at that hour unless they're wide awake when others are sleeping. This detail doesn't feel random. It sounds like a habit from someone who lives on a different clock. Madame Gazelle doesn't rest at night. She's awake, because night is when she feels normal. 7. Her strength isn't normal for a quiet music teacher. During a game in the Bat and Ball episode, Madame Gazelle steps up to bat. She swings once and the ball shoots straight through the school roof. The kids are amazed, but no one stops to ask how that's even possible. This isn't just a lucky hit. It's raw power. She's stronger than Mr. Bull, Daddy Pig, or anyone else in town. Her strength doesn't match her size, age, or job. It doesn't make sense unless she's hiding something. Supernatural strength is one of the oldest signs of a vampire. Madame Gazelle doesn't just teach. She could break the building if she wanted. 8. Vampire costumes make her nostalgic. In the episode Pumpkin Party, Susie Sheep arrives dressed as a vampire. Most adults react the way you'd expect, with laughter or playful comments. Madame Gazelle, on the other hand, says something strange. She looks at Susie and quietly says, "That brings back memories." She offers no explanation and no smile. Her tone is calm, but distant, like she is remembering something serious. It doesn't come across as a joke or a casual remark. It feels personal. The costume clearly reminds her of something real. If she has memories of vampires, it may be because she was never pretending to be one. 9. Her name matches a real creature with fangs. There is an actual animal known as the Siberian musk deer, but many people call it something else, the vampire gazelle. It has long, sharp tusks that hang from its mouth like fangs, and unlike other deer, it has no horns. Strangely, Madame Gazelle also has no horns, even though most gazelles in real life do. The design is oddly specific, and the name is almost too perfect to ignore. This creature is real, rare, and eerie, and it shares both appearance and title with Peppa's teacher. Maybe her name isn't just a name. Maybe it's a quiet reference to what she really is. 10th. Her old band looks a lot like Dracula's brides. Long before she was a school teacher, Madame Gazelle performed in a band called the Rocking Gazelles. She was joined by 2 other women, and together they toured as a mysterious, stylish trio. The group seemed lighthearted on the surface, but something about it feels strangely familiar. In classic vampire lore, Dracula is often followed by 3 brides, 3 women who stay young, travel together, and share a dark secret. The connection feels too exact to ignore. A group of 3, always together, charming on the outside, but tied to something hidden. If Madame Gazelle is one of them, the band may have been more than just music. It might have been a cover for something older, and far less innocent. 11. She might be the town's eternal watcher. In all of Peppa Pig, there is only one teacher, Madame Gazelle. No substitutes ever show up. No other schools are mentioned. She never takes time off. She never gets sick. She's always in the classroom, always smiling, like it's her permanent role in this world. For a town full of families, one teacher handling everything feels strange. It starts to feel less like a job and more like a duty. Something about her presence never changing makes it seem like she's not just teaching. She's watching. Maybe she isn't here to educate the children. Maybe she's here to keep the town under control. Or worse, maybe she's making sure no one remembers what came before. 12. She distracts the kids on purpose. Madame Gazelle always seems calm, helpful, and in control. But there's something strange about the way she handles questions. When the children start getting curious about the past, their parents, or the world itself, she never answers directly. Instead, she quickly changes the subject to a song, a game, or something simple. At first, it just looks like classroom management, but it keeps happening. Every time a conversation gets close to something deeper, she shuts it down. It starts to seem less like teaching and more like control. Maybe she isn't avoiding chaos. Maybe she's hiding something. If the kids remember too much, they might uncover something the show isn't supposed to reveal. Something even she's afraid of. 13. She could be the last piece of the old world. Madame Gazelle doesn't just feel different, she feels out of place. While everyone else in Peppa's world lives simple, cheerful lives, she stands apart. She remembers things no one else talks about. Her age, her silence, and her strange reactions all suggest something deeper. If she really is a vampire, she might also be something more. One of the last living links to whatever existed before this version of the world. Maybe the others forgot. Maybe they were changed. But she didn't forget, and she didn't leave. She stayed behind, still playing her part. Not to blend in, but to make sure nothing from the past comes back. Or worse, so nothing notices that she's still here. 14. She might be the first hybrid that survived. There's a darker theory behind Peppa's world. It suggests the characters weren't always animals. Long ago, a failed experiment tried to save human life by merging people with plant matter. The goal was immortality. Some creations worked, like Mr. Potato, who now appears on TV. Others mutated into animal-like forms with human traits. Madame Gazelle may have been the first one that fully survived. But something went wrong. She didn't just change. She turned into something undead. A hybrid with no age, no reflection, and a need to keep the past buried. While the others forgot what happened, she stayed behind to guide them. Or maybe to make sure the truth never gets out. So next time you watch Peppa Pig, remember, it might not be just a cartoon. If one teacher can live forever, could Peppa's whole world be part of something bigger? Drop your thoughts in the comments and hit subscribe. We're not done digging yet.